class. Welcome to Photography 101. I am your teacher, Mrs. Slop. Today we will be covering history of photography and going over how to use an old-fashioned film camera. Now, I know a lot of you probably have a digital, and while these may be the ways of the current times, we're going to stick with using our film cameras for this semester. First, to learn a little bit about the history. William Fox Henry Talbot was one of the founding fathers of photography. Now, back in William Henry Fox Talbot's day, in order to get the ladies, you had to be a fabulous artist. Well, he wasn't. So instead, he invented a prism. And he realized that if he took his prism and shined it through the sun, it would reflect an image onto his paper. So he would trace that. Well, a few years later, a couple other gentlemen, who also were not fabulous artists, decided that they wanted a way to make photography stick on a piece of paper. So through some trial and error, they discovered that if they went into a dark room, and if there was a hole, and let's say that there's a tree outside, and they wanted this image of the tree. Well, by looking through this hole, which contained the prism, it would reflect the image onto a wall. And then you could come in and see this image, although it would be upside down. The downside of this was that you would have to stop the light from coming in. Otherwise, it would continue to develop the paper and eventually turn it black. Well, through some trial and error, we have come to what we finally use today for developing our film. We have a fix, a stop, and then a bath. And these help your prints so that they can be taken outside and looked at in light instead of having to be kept in a dark room. First, we'll start with our camera. Now, instead of having a zoom, you would have to either get closer or have a different lens. Now, your lenses should always be kept with a safety guard on this side and another guard on this side to protect them from getting scratched or dented. This camera did not have a safety guard and therefore has been dented. Lenses are very expensive and hard to come by. Therefore, you need to take care of them. Now, for your camera, first you need to load your film. This is done by popping this up and opening it. You place your spool of film here, stretch it across, and wind it into this area. When you shut it, you need to make sure that it clicks shut, and when you wind it, you need to make sure it's also not dragging, because therefore you're tearing your film, and that there's a little resistance, otherwise you don't have it wrapped correctly. Now, this may look like there's a lot of numbers and buttons on here, but they're very easy to understand. First of all, you have your shutter speed. This is how fast you want your shutter to close. Depending on what you're taking pictures of, you'll either want it to be faster or slower. This area over here is to show the number of prints you have left. And up front here, this is your focus and your little bit of a zoom that you have. It is also your aperture, which is for how big of a circle your shutter will be and how much light is going to be let in. Now, once you have taken your film and you've taken all of your photos, you need to go into a black room. You need to have absolutely no light or it will ruin your photos. You there will take out your film using a can opener and you will place it into a container that is completely sealed. You need to have the lid on there and make sure that none of your film is touching. You will then take it to the sink and you will add in your chemicals, your fix and your stop. Then you will place it in the water for 25 minutes. After those 25 minutes are up, you can pull out your negatives and look at them. Please do not have any rings on or have long fingernails. It can scratch and ruin your negatives and there's no way for us to fix it. After that, for about 8 seconds, you need to put it in a fix. Then, you need to hang up your negatives to dry. Negatives take 3 hours or roughly overnight to dry. After they have dried, then you can go into the darkroom. The darkroom has your enlargers, and in your enlargers, you can make prints of your photos. you need to set up your trays. Your trays need to consist of your fix, a stop bath, which is just water, a stop, and then another fix bath. You will place it in the first bath for 2 minutes, then for a minute in your next, and then 1 more minute. The first one is going to develop your photos. Then it's going to stop the developer by putting it in the water. Your next one is going to protect it and put that special seal on there so that, unlike these guys who couldn't look at their photos in the sunlight, you can go and look at yours in the sunlight. Then you need to put it in the stop bath. The stop bath you will time for 25 minutes after your last photo has been added. Then you need to take your prints out and put them on the drying tray and leave them there overnight. Any questions?